Marvel fans, the future has never looked better. I also might add superhero fans in general, because the future of the new DCU also looks incredible. But specifically for Marvel fans, it gets even better because it looks like Marvel Studios is basically going to return to the original system that they were using for the Marvel Cinematic Universe when they first started it. Kevin Feige has opened up a lot over the past couple of weeks about what their plans are for Marvel Studios, and now we have a new report from Variety updating us on the X-Men and some other future projects as well. And after hearing and reading everything, it really does sound like Marvel Studios is basically going to do what they did at the start of the Infinity Saga, which should lead to Phase 7, 8, and 9 with the X-Men, the new X-Men, being pretty epic. So we'll first break down this new report from Variety titled Marvel's Next Moves, Black Panther 3, and a young X-Men cast to keep the costs down. Blade and Deadpool 4 are lower priorities. And I do have some thoughts on that Deadpool 4 being a lower priority, but we'll get to that. Now, this article is written by the same person who wrote that Marvel in Crisis article that came out not too long ago, and it seems like this is another hit piece. It's basically saying superhero films and perhaps films in general won't be what they were before COVID. Superhero movies aren't grossing $1 billion anymore, and basically this is going to lead to the studios not putting so much money into, one, the actors that they hire, and two, just the overall budget of what it takes to make a film. Which brings us to what they say about the X-Men. They state that reality has changed the calculus at Marvel, led by Kevin Feige, when it comes to making a movie like X-Men. Thunderbolt's helmer Jake Schreier is set to direct the tentpole, with the studio fine-tuning Michael Leslie's script. Casting for the X-Men will begin soon, and the field is wide open, but Marvel has indicated to reps that it is looking for younger talent rather than A-listers to keep the cost down. And I actually think that this is a pretty dang good idea, not because I'm concerned about the cost of Marvel's projects, although it definitely is good for that, but I like it because this is what Marvel did before. They never relied on A-listers. When we met everybody in the MCU, they weren't as famous as they were at the end. And the Marvel franchise definitely made them the superstars that they were. In most cases, that is. And with the newer movies that have come out in Phase 4, 5, and 6 even, with one movie, The Fantastic Four, I've seen a lot of people state that they actually missed the time where Marvel actually didn't hire the A-listers and they hired perhaps B-listers or even C-listers who do have the talent to perform the roles that Marvel would hire them for and then build their career from there. I think that's what a lot of people really liked about watching Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans and the others. Sure, they were popular before, but they weren't those big superstars before Marvel. And I think reverting back to hiring actors who aren't super famous already for these lead roles is a good idea for Marvel, because if you take the instance of Pedro Pascal, for example, a lot of people have basically been stating that they just see Pedro Pascal. They don't see Reed Richards, they don't see his other characters, they just see him because he's everywhere. But if we bring on new actors in the MCU to play the X-Men, and of course, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige did say that they are eventually going to recast Iron Man and Captain America and others, then these new actors can really become these characters, and we'll see those characters on screen. So rather than just seeing Pedro Pascal as himself, or any other actor that is very well known just as themselves, we'll be able to see the actual characters, not the actors, but the characters that the actors are becoming. And another great example I can think of this, just me personally, when I see The Rock in anything, he is just The Rock to me. And don't get me wrong, I like The Rock a lot, but in any movie he's in, I just see Dwayne Johnson. And this article actually even says that Pedro Pascal, even now, isn't really at that super huge superstar mark of fame, although you definitely could argue that. But they state, while Matt Shakman's Fantastic Four features a bona fide TV star in Pedro Pascal, who has made his mark on the small screen in everything from The Mandalorian to The Last of Us, he hasn't yet scaled the same big screen heights as the Endgame ensemble, and that helped keep the Fantastic Four budget manageable. Disney hasn't given a precise figure on the film's budget, only pegging it at somewhere north of $200 million. They do say, in reference to Avengers Doomsday, that Pedro Pascal's Reed Richards is not going to be the main centerpiece, but he does have an integral role, which obviously we assumed, but the main characters are going to be Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom, Chris Hemsworth's Thor, Captain America, and of course a handful of others, with Pedro's Mr. Fantastic being one of them. Marvel also has told us that they are going back to basically making only one live-action TV show per year, maybe two in some cases. There will be some animated ones, but they're really focusing on movies. And the big change from the Infinity Saga to the Multiverse Saga was that Kevin Feige was directly involved with basically every movie in the Infinity Saga in a pretty big capacity. However, when Phase 4 came around and they made a bajillion Disney Plus shows at the same time they were making a lot of movies, Kevin Feige couldn't be very involved in any one project because he was involved in every project, and that included the Disney Plus shows. But now Feige is not touching TV at all. He is just focusing on the movies and the overall story, and that is actually shown with the Thunderbolts and with the Fantastic Four. He was involved with those movies, but he did give the directors freedom to make the movie they wanted to make, which ended up working out very well for both of these movies. But if you take a look at the post-credit scenes, the directors didn't know what they were going to be. It was Feige's decision on what they were going to do, and he chose to take those post-credit scenes and connect them to Avengers Doomsday, which I think was absolutely the right move. So we're already starting to see that Marvel Studios is reverting back to how they did things before. Lesser known actors, lower budgets, giving the directors the freedom to make the movies that they want to do, but also keeping all of the movie storylines in check to make sure they connect with the overall story that they're telling. And now Kevin Feige is fully focused on the movies. And the article does finish off by talking about Blade, Deadpool, and Black Panther 3. We'll get to that, but first, I want to tell you about Factor Form, because after swearing I wouldn't take any green supplements again because they tasted so bad, I found Factor Form and I actually really love the taste, which I was super happy about because I do like the idea of a green product. And now I found one where the taste is amazing. So here we are now with a green supplement from Factor Form that actually tastes good. Most of you know I love Factor meals, and now Factor Form has changed the game, creating a green supplement to go hand in hand with your meals, giving you 100% of your daily nutrients. Here's why this is a game changer. Factor Form supplements have been developed by Factor dietitians using culinary principles to make healthy foods taste delicious. With a refreshing, citrusy, clean, and smooth taste, Factor Form is actually enjoyable to drink. Mix a single-serve pack in water and you're good to go. I personally love it because it doesn't taste like someone threw a bunch of greens from outside into a blender with some water like some other companies out there, but it actually tastes good and it gives me all the nutrients I need, makes me feel like I have more energy, and gives me sharper focus. That's huge. So start your day right with Daily Greens by Factor Form at factor75.com/cosmic to get 40% off plus free shipping on your first order. That's factor75.com/cosmic for 40% off plus free shipping. The article wraps up by stating that ultimately Marvel is thrilled that it has brought Fantastic Four, a tricky property that proved vexing in the past, back from the grave. Fans have embraced the effort, giving the film an A- cinema score, and they state there won't be much to analyze for the next year. The next Marvel movie to hit theaters is Spider-Man Brand New Day on July 31st, followed by Doomsday in December and Avengers Secret Wars in December 2027. Amid an industry-wide pullback on superheroes, the Marvel Brain Trust is feeling no sense of urgency on the long guest-stating Blade reboot, or even a new Deadpool outing, sources say. However, ideas are percolating on a Ryan Coogler-helmed Black Panther 3, creating excitement internally. So it looks like Ryan Coogler has been telling Marvel Studios what his plans are, and that's creating a lot of excitement over at Marvel Studios. They also do mention in this article that Marvel is holding July 23rd, 2027 on the release calendar for an unnamed film, but sources say to Variety it won't be X-Men. So that very well could be the release date for Black Panther 3. But going back to Deadpool, I doubt that this part is accurate. Kevin Feige has already stated that he and Marvel Studios loves Deadpool and Wolverine, and they're trying to get Deadpool and Wolverine into anything they can as quickly as they can. We already know they're going to be in Avengers Doomsday/Secret Wars because Gambit has already been confirmed. And Deadpool and Wolverine was one of their most successful movies as of recent. They would be foolish to not include them in the upcoming Avengers films. And Ryan Reynolds himself has already confirmed himself in in an interview that he's working on the next Deadpool movie. He's working on the script right now, and it's going to be an ensemble film. Not an Avengers ensemble film, but him with some other characters. So I think we're going to see a lot more of Deadpool. He might not be coming out in the next few years in a solo movie, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get another Deadpool film in 2028. Because again, Deadpool and Wolverine was so successful along with the other Deadpool movies as well. Marvel should know fans love Deadpool. We want more of what we love. And I honestly think that Marvel Studios is finally getting it. Kevin Feige at a recent roundtable event with the press said that Brave New World struggled to be a success because, and I quote, "it was the first without Chris Evans," end quote. In which, yeah, I think a lot of people didn't want to go see it because it wasn't Chris Evans as Captain America. And don't get me wrong, I think Anthony Mackie did an incredible job in the film. The film suffered from a lot, but Anthony Mackie as a great actor was not one of those things. And I'm excited to see him as Captain America in the Avengers films. But Kevin Feige also did say they are going to recast Captain America. They're going to do a reset of the MCU after Secret Wars, in which they'll get an entirely new X-Men team, all new actors, and they will recast Iron Man and Captain America. So the statement that it wasn't Chris Evans and the fact that Marvel is indeed going to do a reset, that's confirmed now, makes me think that finally Marvel Studios is actually catching on to what fans really do think. And most of it is honestly common sense, which is why I think the reset is actually pretty necessary to start over in this new universe with the X-Men and the Avengers and the Fantastic Four and basically any other Marvel character. So after Secret Wars going into a brand new MCU that has been reset with entirely new actors and old characters revived once again, with Marvel Studios going back to how they handled the Infinity Saga, I think we're in for a really, really bright future. Basically old school Marvel with a fresh start. So go ahead, let me know what you think about all of this. Does this excite you, and are you hopeful for the future of the MCU? Let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you want to stay up to date on all the latest MCU news, rumors, and leaks. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.